Hey there! So, something really intriguing has been happening lately. Investigations have found that more and more Chinese money launderers are teaming up with Mexican cartels to swap their renminbi for US dollars. You might be wondering why this is such a big deal. Well, it's not just about some shady deals. It's a sign of something much bigger. Imagine you've been saving up for years, but suddenly, the money in your bank might not be worth as much. That's kind of what's happening in China. People are getting really worried about the future value of their renminbi. They're so anxious that they're willing to go to great lengths, even illegal ones, to get their hands on US dollars.
Why?
Because they see the USD as a safer bet. The Chinese economy, which was once booming like a never-ending fireworks display, is now facing some serious problems. Real estate is in trouble, debts are piling up, and the government's putting strict limits on how much money people can move out of the country. It's like trying to keep water from spilling out of a cracked vase. It's just not working out well. This desperation to convert renminbi into US dollars isn't just a random act. It's a clear signal that people fear the renminbi might collapse. Meanwhile, the US dollar is still seen as solid and dependable, like a rock in a storm. So, what's really going on? Why is the renminbi teetering on the edge while the USD stands firm? Let's break it down. Alright, let's get into it. NBC News recently did some digging and found something pretty wild. Chinese nationals are working with Mexican drug cartels to move money around. And we're not talking about small amounts here. They're laundering millions through these underground networks. But why go through all this trouble? Here's the deal. Chinese nationals are desperate to swap their renminbi for US dollars.
Why?
Well, they don't trust that their money will hold its value in China. Think about it like this. Imagine if you had all your savings in a currency that you thought might become worthless. You'd want to change it into something more stable, right? That's exactly what's happening here. So, these money launderers have become super important to the cartels. They have this incredible ability to move huge amounts of money through underground banking systems, which makes the whole operation run smoothly. It's like having a secret tunnel that bypasses all the regular routes, faster, hidden, and efficient. The Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, and the Internal Revenue Service, IRS, have been all over this. They've found that these networks are crucial because they allow for massive sums to be transferred without anyone noticing. This is a huge part of why the Chinese nationals involved are so keen on converting their renminbi into US dollars. They see the USD as a safe harbor in a stormy sea. So, the question is, why is there such a lack of faith in the renminbi, and what does this mean for its future? Let's explore that next. Let's talk about what's happening in China's economy. For years, China was growing at an incredible rate, kind of like a rocket ship. But now, that rocket is running out of fuel. The economy has slowed down a lot. You can see it in the numbers. China's GDP growth isn't what it used to be. Take the real estate market, for example. It used to be booming, with new buildings and projects popping up everywhere. Now, it's a different story. There are countless construction projects that have just stopped. Imagine walking through a city and seeing half-built skyscrapers and abandoned construction sites. Property values are falling, and this is causing a ripple effect throughout the economy. A big part of the problem is the banks. They've been giving out loans left and right, but a lot of these loans are turning into bad debts. The Daily Hodl reports that banks are collapsing at an unprecedented rate because they can't handle the number of bad loans. It's like a house of cards, and it's starting to tumble down. Poor risk controls and the downturn in the property market are pushing these banks over the edge. So, what does all this mean for the average person in China? Well, it's creating a lot of uncertainty and fear. People are worried about their savings, their jobs, and their future. That's why you see this rush to convert renminbi into US dollars. They're trying to protect their money because they don't trust the stability of their own currency anymore. To try and manage the economic mess, the Chinese government has put some pretty strict rules in place about how much money people can take out of the bank. These are called capital controls, and they're meant to stop money from flooding out of the country. Here's what this looks like in real life. You have people lining up at banks, sometimes for hours, just to withdraw their own money. And it's not just small amounts. If you want to withdraw between 1,000 and 300,000 yuan, you need the government's approval. For businesses wanting to take out more than 500,000 yuan, the same rules apply. Imagine having to ask for permission to use your savings or run your business. That's what folks are dealing with right now. This situation has led to a lot of frustration and anger. We've seen protests in the streets, with people demanding access to their money. It's a bit like trying to get water from a well that's slowly running dry, and the government is standing guard, rationing out what you can take. People are worried. They're afraid their money will become worthless if they leave it in the bank, so there's a rush to convert their savings into US dollars.
Why?
Because the USD is seen as stable and reliable. They're doing whatever they can to protect their financial future, even if it means jumping through all these hoops. Chinese banks are in deep trouble right now, mainly because of something called non-performing assets or NPLs. Think of NPLs as loans that borrowers aren't paying back on time. It's like lending your friend money, and they keep missing the repayments. Eventually, you start doubting if you'll ever get it back. In China, this is a huge issue. Many banks, especially the smaller rural ones, are drowning in these bad loans. Some banks have admitted that up to 40% of their loan portfolios are non-performing. Imagine running a business where nearly half of your revenue is unreliable. That's the reality for these banks. We've seen drastic measures taken to address this. In the first half of this year alone, at least 40 high-risk banks have been taken over by larger institutions. This move is supposed to stabilize the situation, but it also highlights how serious the problem is. These small banks just can't keep afloat under the weight of so many bad loans. Why is this happening? Well, it goes back to the rapid economic growth and the lending spree that fueled it. Loans were given out left and right without enough checks and balances. Now, with the economy slowing down, many businesses and individuals can't keep up with their repayments, leaving the banks in a tough spot. To give you a clearer picture, think about it like this. If you lend money to 10 people and 4 of them can't pay you back, you're in trouble. Now, scale that up to a national level, and you see why Chinese banks are facing such a crisis. Even with all the global ups and downs, the US dollar has managed to hold its ground. There are a few key reasons why the USD is seen as a rock-solid currency, especially compared to the shaky renminbi. First off, let's talk about the fundamentals of the US economy. The United States has one of the largest and most diverse economies in the world. It's not just about having a lot of money, it's about having a system that works well. Companies like Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon dominate globally, and this gives a lot of confidence to investors and everyday people alike. When people think of safe investments, the US economy often comes to mind. Then, there are the financial institutions. The US has a well-regulated banking system with strict oversight, which helps prevent the kind of widespread banking issues we're seeing in China right now. Places like Wall Street, with its long history and robust infrastructure, add to this sense of security. Imagine a fortress that has stood tall through storms and battles. That's what Wall Street represents for many. And let's not forget the role of the Federal Reserve. The Fed plays a crucial role in managing the economy by controlling interest rates and monitoring financial stability. It's like having a skilled captain steering a massive ship through rough waters. The Fed's actions are watched closely worldwide, and their ability to manage economic crises boosts global confidence in the USD. We also have to consider trust. The US dollar is trusted around the world. When there's economic uncertainty, people tend to flock to the USD because it's seen as a safe bet. This isn't just based on current performance, but also on a long history of economic stability and growth. For instance, during the 2008 financial crisis, the USD still held strong because people trusted that the US would recover, which it did. Economists often refer to the USD as a safe haven currency. What this means is that in times of global economic stress, the USD is where people turn to keep their assets secure. It's kind of like having a dependable friend you can count on no matter what happens. So, while the renminbi is dealing with all sorts of issues, from economic slowdowns to banking crises, the USD remains stable and reliable. This stark contrast is why so many are eager to switch their renminbi to US dollars. It's all about finding a safe place to park their money, and right now, the USD is that safe place. So, here we are at the end of our journey, looking at a complex but clear picture. China is facing some serious economic hurdles. We've seen how the once booming real estate market is now in shambles, with projects left incomplete and property values plummeting. The banks are struggling too, with a massive amount of bad loans weighing them down, causing a ripple effect throughout the financial system. Capital controls have made it tough for people to access their own money, leading to public unrest and desperation. People are standing in long lines at banks and protesting in the streets, all while trying to protect their savings from losing value. This has pushed many to convert their renminbi into US dollars by any means necessary, even if it means using underground networks. Meanwhile, the US dollar remains a pillar of stability. Despite global challenges, the USD is supported by strong economic fundamentals, well-regulated financial institutions, and global trust. It's the go-to safe haven when things get rough, providing a reliable option for those looking to secure their wealth. In contrast, the renminbi's future looks uncertain. As China grapples with these economic challenges and the potential collapse of its currency, the USD continues to thrive. The path ahead suggests a troubling outlook for the renminbi. So, as we wrap up, it's clear why the renminbi is on shaky ground while the USD stands strong. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more insights into global finance and economics.